Okay, I would like you all to close your eyes. Please imagine that you're standing in a field. The sun is out, but it's completely blocked by clouds. It is dewy. It rained just the day before. Now, imagine that field is soaked with the memories of thousands who died just the day before. Okay, please open your eyes. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what are you going to say to a nation that had just experienced a tragedy like this? How are you going to address these people when all they can think about is their friends, their family, people they know? They just went through something like this and they might have died in an incredibly awful battle. Unlike other speeches that we are used to, the Gettysburg Address is short, clear, and written by someone who understood what it means to speak to a divided, exhausted, and emotional audience. I do not claim to be an expert on Lincoln or on the Civil War, but like many of you, I first encountered this speech in a classroom and didn't think much of it at the time. Preparing this speech forced me to slow down and really examine and listen to what Abraham Lincoln was trying to say in only 272 words. My goal today is not to give you a history lesson, but to share why this speech continues to matter and to connect it to questions that we still have today. I hope to explore those ideas with you, not as a historian, but as a fellow student trying to make sense of a powerful moment in our nation's past. Now listen to the words of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field for those who gave their lives here, that their nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it for us, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure, that we were highly resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from this earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 19, 1863. Now, the Gettysburg Address addresses the problem that our nation has focused too much on the countenance of slavery. As Gary Wills says in his book, Lincoln at Gettysburg, The Words That Remade America, published November 14th, 2006. For those of you who do not know, the countenance of slavery means the accepted practice. Abraham Lincoln focused on this problem by saying in the beginning of the speech that we as a country are dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. When he says this, he immediately started to direct this speech to the people to help light a fire in the citizens, to help change what they were fighting for, to continue the work that our citizens have died for, and to help fight for a higher moral purpose. This address transformed the Civil War from a fight to preserve the Union into a moral struggle for freedom and equality amongst all people living in that nation. Not only this, but his words were trying to inspire and challenge the future generations to make that promise real. This is easily applied to our lives today because as citizens, we are called upon our nation and our surrounding citizens to live up to the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. No one person is greater, no one person is lesser. And to live every day of our life fighting for the moral purpose and to fulfill the promise of equality that Abraham Lincoln was trying to do. We can spark a change in those around us by speaking with authority and purpose, just as Lincoln was trying to do with his speech. Now, in the end, the Gettysburg Address is more than just a speech delivered and dedicated to a battlefield. It is a reminder, a challenge to every generation of Americans to uphold the ideals brought forth in our Declaration of Independence. That is the principle of equality among all people, that we are all created equally. As we reflect on his words today, we are reminded that the strength of America depends on how faithfully we choose to live out the ideals we inherited. Lincoln's message is clear. The work of creating a more just, equal, and unified nation is still ours to continue. Thank you.